Welcome back everyone, my name is Danny Burke and today we're going to the Evergreen State, Washington. Not Washington D.C, the actual state of Washington. I'm sure you guys know the difference. And I'm also sure we must have thousands of viewers from there. You guys will enjoy this video. In fact, I think all of you will because these are really great stories that I found for you today. Get comfortable, get ready. My name is Danny Burke, again, and this is the top 10 scary Washington urban legends. Starting off at number 10 now, we have the Jake Bird Hex. Jake Bird was a convicted murderer and self-confessed serial killer who was executed for the murders of a woman and her teenage daughter in Tacoma, Washington in 1947. It's thought that he may have killed up to 46 people though. Because of his heinous crimes, he's fairly well known among people in that area of Washington, but what's made him really famous around the world is the story of his Bird Hex. After his conviction was announced, Bird was allowed to make a final statement. He spoke for 20 minutes about how he hadn't been allowed to represent himself in court and that his lawyers were against him. Then he said, "I'm putting the Jake Bird Hex on all of you who had anything to do with my being punished. Mark my words, you will die before I do." Naturally, people just sort of laughed it off, but after Bird was executed, you guessed it, people started dying. They didn't die before he did, obviously, but allegedly 6 people connected with the trial died, including the judge who died within a month of sentencing Bird. So too did one of the officers who took his first confession, a police officer who took the second confession also died, then the court's chief clerk, then one of Bird's prison guards, and even his lawyer died on the first anniversary of Bird's sentencing. Cosmic coincidence, or was the Bird Hex really real? Next up at number 9 now, we have 13 Steps to Hell. East of Seattle lies the famous Maltby Cemetery. It's famous because it's said to have 13 steps that lead down to hell. Or at least they used to be there. Legend says that these stairs led down to the tomb of a wealthy local family. Now if someone walked down them, everything would go silent around them. When they reached the bottom step and turned around, they would have a vision of hell. People who were watching them in this moment reported seeing them collapse to their knees, screaming in terror at something they just couldn't see. The vision was said to drive the person insane. If it was children who went down these steps and saw hell, many of them were said to return almost in a coma, never able to speak again. If this sounds too creepy, well, don't worry, it's been reported that the steps no longer exist. They were bulldozed or filled in with concrete years ago. That hasn't stopped the legend from spreading though, and many people still visit the cemetery each year and try and unearth these steps to take a trip down to hell themselves. Next up at number 8 now, we have Mount Rainier's saucer. In 1947, a pilot discovered a US Marine transport plane that had crashed in Mount Rainier National Park. After reporting it, he took off again on his journey to Yakima. Suddenly, he saw a bright flashing light in the night sky. He was worried that he had flown dangerously close to another plane, but found nobody else nearby. Then more bright lights appeared. One of the lights passed in front of him. He described them as crescent-shaped objects that looked like saucers skipping on the water. It was this description that literally gave us the term of flying saucer. He reported the story to his family and friends, and then that story began to spread all over the country. Now, despite its fame, nobody has been able to explain what he saw that night, and if there really is something strange going on at Mount Rainier. Moving on to number 7 now guys, we have SR 900. That's the name of this road that runs through Washington from Issaquah to Renton. For starters, people just say it's very creepy in general. The road runs through a lot of dark forests. Over the years there's been a lot of car accidents at night there because the roads wind precariously through these dark areas with no street lights at all. If you drive along it in the early hours of the morning, there's a good chance you'll find that you're the only person there. Many people report a very creepy feeling washing over them on this road. Sometimes this takes on a physical manifestation, like a person appearing by the side of the road as fog swirls around them. It's a golden oldie, that one. It appears everywhere. Never get tired of it. Or maybe you are. Moving on to number 6 now there, we have Bigfoot. According to some reports, Washington has the highest number of Bigfoot sightings at 537 since records began. That's over 100 more than the second place state, its southern neighbor California. Now in case you don't know what or who a Bigfoot is, it's a hairy, upright walking ape-like creature in North American folklore. It's said to have an almost mythical quality and dwells only in the wilderness, leaving almost nothing behind besides footprints and tufts of hair. One of the most famous Bigfoot encounters in Washington occurred in 1924 near Mount St. Helens. A group of gold prospectors claimed to have fought a group of 7-foot tall Bigfoots who threw boulders shoulders at them. They said these giant creatures moved like humans but must have weighed over 400 pounds. One of the men fired his gun at the creatures, toppling one off a cliff. That night they heard huge stones slamming against their cabin and felt giant bodies hitting against the walls and doors. As you already know, this certainly wasn't the first Bigfoot encounter in the state of Washington. Next up at number 5 now, we have the Oxford Saloon. I found this story from a Reddit user who said that this saloon is just a few blocks down from their workplace. The Oxford Saloon is a bar that's been in the town of Snohomish for over 100 years. Legend says that many years ago a policeman called Henry was stabbed to death there while trying to break up a fight. They say his ghost remained attached to the building, harassing guests and scaring them at the bottom of the basement steps. In modern times, the second floor of the building became offices, but they say the saloon ghost still remains there too. This includes a man in a bowler hat and 2 female spirits, Kathleen, the madame for the brothel back in the day, and Amelia, one of her ladies of the night. They say that a long time ago, Amelia's body was mysteriously found in a closet, all cramped up and stuffed in there. Horrible stuff. These days, paranormal investigators report strange experiences at the saloon involving ghostly voices and strange images that show up in photographs. Next up at number 4 now, we have DRYDEN Hall. This is a famous hall that first opened in 1965 at Spokane University. Now, despite its relatively young age, it's already gained a bit of a reputation as a haunted place within the area. The story goes that on the outer wall of the north wing, a mysterious screaming face can be seen at night. Now, initially, people just brushed it off as a trick of the lights because it could only be seen at night. The thing is though, the groundskeepers reportedly kept changing the position of the lights, but the face would always appear. These days, every single year, a new batch of students have the story passed on to them, and still the screaming face remains. Moving on to number 3 now, we have the trees. Olympic National Park is a massively popular tourist site for those visiting Washington. You can see why, I'm sure, from these pictures, but locals have always told stories about an unsettling feeling they get among some parts of the dense undergrowth there. Many of the famous trails are said to be haunted by a powerful unknown entity. Believers in this often point to a very strange event that took place there in February 2018. Park officials were baffled one morning to find an extremely powerful force had knocked down over 100 trees. Now, what's also strange is the fact that weather data shows nothing out of the ordinary occurred the night before. Many of the trees were also broken near the base, which would require an immense amount of force. The amount of trees that had gone down was inconsistent too. In some areas, nearly every tree was down, but in other areas, half the trees were untouched. It was a mystery. Let's hope some of you guys have a rational explanation for all of this. Moving on to number 2 now, we have the Winged Man. By all intents and purposes, Marina High School in Everett, Washington is a normal school of some 3,000 students. Many of the students are aware though of a particularly strange urban legend there. They say that in the school, around midnight, the lights are supposed to still be on, but on some nights the lights will just shut off. If you watch from outside of the school, they say you'll get the feeling that someone is watching you from inside, and then you'll see it, the eyes. Just a set of floating eyes. It's too dark to see a body, and then the eyes will start to glow. Legend says that if you keep staring for long enough, the glow will begin to illuminate the rest of the body. You will see a man with wings. There aren't many reports of what happens after people see the winged man. I imagine they just turn around and run. And finally, number 1 now, we have MELS Hole. Years ago, a man named Mel Waiters called into the Art Bell radio show claiming he had discovered an infinitely deep hole on his property near Ellensburg. He said that he tied fishing lines together and continued lowering it down the hole. It reached 15 miles apparently without hitting any ground. That's a depth of some 80,000 feet. It gets crazier though. Mel claimed that the hole had the ability to restore life to dead animals. You heard me. He told the story of a man's dead dog that was thrown into the pit and then found walking around alive soon after. People became obsessed with finding this hole, but Mel refused to tell people where it was. A while later, a local paper reported that no man named Mel Waiters even existed in the area, and Mel wasn't even around to defend his own existence, as he was never heard from again. Fell down the hole. Who knows? The whole thing is very strange. So there you go, another urban legends video in the bag. If I'm being honest, I've lost track of which states I've done and which states I have not done. Let me know if I haven't done your state, if you're watching this from America, and I'll get on that right away. Thanks for watching, as always guys. My name is Danny Burke, and I will see you all in the next one.